Welcome to the 3-0 Goalies podcast, brought to you by White Glove Goalkeeping. New music for the 3-0 Goalies is provided by Stream Beats. Listen on Spotify. 3-0 Goalies is not intended for goalkeepers under the age of 17. Thanks again for listening to the 3-0 Goalies with your hosts, Greg Deutsch, Pat Johnston, and Eric Vaughter. On this episode, we welcome Robbie Church from Duke University Women's Soccer.
Okay, so welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of 3-0 Goalies, and this is actually our second, what we call four square discussion, right? Because we got four old guys and we're all square, and so that's how we do it. So we're glad you joined us. We are going to talk tonight on three basic subjects. We're going to talk, because we have yet to talk about the signing and hiring of Mauricio Pochettino, our new national team coach. So we're going to discuss that. We're going to be joined later on by Robbie Church, head coach at Duke University women's team, who are now ranked number 1 in the country, and he's actually retiring this year. So I actually spent last Thursday and Friday, Thursday night at Duke University, watching his team tie Notre Dame. They were actually down 3-1 at one point, and they came back and tied them and got a point out of it. And then our final discussion point is going to be what we've coined the big ass motherfucking conference, which is sort of a great concept of making men's soccer nationwide and changing up the schedule so that it is a year-long season, playing one game per week, sort of like professional soccer, sort of like it should be done. But we're gonna start off with those three topics tonight. Each panelist is going to get 2 minutes to give his opinion, and then we're going to discuss it. But before we get into any of that, we would be remiss if we did not send out our thoughts and prayers to the Trent family, who lost their 25-year-old son, who was a goalkeeper. Trent Holden passed away this week. He was with the Philadelphia Union and passed away at the age of 25. Obviously, we don't know yet what the cause of death was, but that's as Pat said this afternoon, this is tragic, and I don't know if you can say much more about anything like that other than, yes, this is a tragedy. So rest in peace, and thoughts and prayers go out to his family. Okay, for the first topic, Mauricio Pochettino, our new U.S. national team coach. Ryan, you're on the spot first, buddy.
You got to put me on the spot. So
here we go. You got 2 minutes. Go.
So far, not so good, but there's been no roster shakeup, really, right? Like, you bring in the same guys, we kind of get the same results, right? They don't do anything spectacular. You can't expect to go out against Mexico, who's got something to prove, and get a result. They get beaten that game. There just wasn't enough. There's not been enough roster turnover yet to kind of see what he's really going to do. But he does come out and say, if you're not playing for your club team, you're not going to play for the national team, right? He comes out and he says that, and then he starts the goalkeeper that's not playing for his club team. Okay, if you're going to say that, stick to your guns and do it. Do I think that Turner's probably the best option? Maybe, but you've got to stick to your guns as a coach. If you say this is how it's going to be and this is how we're going to run things, then do it. All right, I'm good. That's as far as I'm going to go with it right now. I think the jury's still out, really. If he shakes it up and does something different, I'll be excited about it. But so far, I haven't seen much out of it.
Gotcha. Okay. Bone, you ready?
Sure.
Let it rip.
All right. I agree the jury is still out, but after 2 games, of course the jury's going to be out. So sort of makes sense there. I do like that nothing's going to be given. You got to prove yourself. I think he will change the roster up here a little bit in time for the Kingston game. That's the game that matters next against Jamaica. So it'll be interesting to see what he does there. I don't know how many more new players he's going to bring in either, though. When you think about it, right? I think players got to get healthy. I do like, as I think we all know, I believe his first training session was 2 hours, and they had never trained that long before. Is that right, Ryan?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about how it was the longest training the men's team's ever been a part of.
Yeah. So, I like that. He's experienced. I'm excited that he's the coach, and I'm anxious to see what he does.
All right, Pat, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, man.
I disagree wholeheartedly with both of them. I don't think there are players to go find. I think those are the best players, and that's why we are where we are, frankly. Pochettino, I think generally you look at him on paper, etc. He's one of the better hires they could have done. And yes, of course, I mean it's 2 games in, and he had him for 6 days before the first game, and then 8 days, whatever, before the second game. One of the things, though, that didn't make sense to me was he said, I'm not going to play these players that are getting too many minutes for their club team. And then he turns around and plays Jedi both matches 90 minutes. And then sends him back to England, and he plays with Fulham on Saturday against, I think it was Man City or Liverpool or something. So, like you said, Ryan, the consistency of what he's saying and what he's doing, it's not jiving. I believe Pulisic did not play at all in the Mexico game, correct?
Correct.
And that was his reasoning, was Pulisic's getting too many minutes with Milan, with AC Milan. And like I said, but Jedi's playing the same amount of minutes for Fulham, and Jedi isn't pulled. So it's I'm just scratching my head on that one. But ultimately, it's like you can only do so much with the guys we got. And if you guys can name some players that should be out there that weren't, let me know, because I've never heard of them. I don't know who else he could pull on. To be honest with you, and that's all I got for now.
All right. Okay, so I'll go last. Mine's pretty simple. Okay. This guy, we are at the point with U.S. soccer where we have to win. Okay. If we are hosting the World Cup, in my opinion, in 2026, we've got to get to the Elite 8 or the Final 4, or it's not good. And I think this guy's got one. I think that's his one job. I don't want to hear this shit from U.S. Soccer about we're going to develop a culture and we're going to change everything and it's going to filter down to the U9s and bullshit. It's time to quit hiding behind those excuses, okay, and figure out a way to win. Now, I agree 100% with Pat. I agree 100% with Ryan. I agree 100% with Bone. I don't know if we got the horses for that. I think we got a few horses, but I don't think we have the horses to get to the Elite 8. And so I feel like his task is monumental. We will find out if he's up to it. I will say this, his first couple of games, there wasn't a whole lot there to spur on my confidence that this team will get to the Elite 8 or the Final 4 of the World Cup in 2026. Okay, discussion.
Okay, first of all, what we need to do, if EV, we need to reach, as you Americanize, the Elite 8 or the Final 4, which in the World Cup is known as the quarters and the semis.
Okay.
What we need to do is do the South Korea model of 2002 when they made the semis. Okay? Goose Hiddick was their coach, and they basically bought the refs in every elimination game up until the semifinal, and that's the only way we're going to make it, because that is exactly how Korea did, with all the horrible calls that were made in their favor, for them to beat Spain and Italy in this round of 16, and in the quarterfinal. That's the only way they got to the semi, and I see that's the only way the U.S. will do it, because we're not going to go play anybody at that level off the park, and we're going to have all the luck in the world.
Right. And you say this, Pat, because if my memory serves me, you were at the games, the World Cup in South Korea, correct?
Okay, yeah, I did go. Now, I didn't see the Korean games in the stands. I was actually at the American game where we lost to the Germans, and actually we got robbed by the refs that game in the quarterfinal. Think about that. Bruce Arena's 2002 team is still the furthest advancing team that we've had in a World Cup tournament. And in the game they got eliminated, they were robbed of a penalty kick that if there was VAR, they would have easily gotten. Okay? And so, and here we are 20 years later, and we can't even get out of the first round of the Copa America. And to me, that is the discussion, is why are we so much worse off now than we were 22 years ago?
So why are we still playing Tim Ream?
That's funny you say that. Exactly. We can't find anyone in this country.
And there's the problem.
I liked him, but I totally agree with you, Ryan.
I just think there's guys that we've got to get some looks at the next level. I think there's some things that, and I believe wholeheartedly in this, some guys that you may not expect to be national team players could rise to the occasion if you bring them in and give them a shot. Now, I think this is an opportunity for us in some of these games that are coming up to get some of those guys in. Like, I know Chris Richards is still like not healthy, so that may have something to do with it. But I think let's give Cameron Carter-Vickers another look. Give him some look. I mean, he's got to be recalled, right? Like, he's playing with Celtic. He's had been playing fairly well right now. I know he's out with an injury, but if he's healthy and ready to go, like Miles Robinson's coming into camp and then not playing. Like, he missed a number of matches for FC Cincinnati where they really could have used him because they've been down center backs. And I know that kind of sounds like a homer pick for me, given that they're my club. But when you watch him play for FC Cincinnati, like, he makes a difference. Now, I know it's MLS and people can argue like the quality of play, whatever. But there's guys out there that just have to get opportunities. Like, stop bringing in Walker Zimmerman and Tim Ream. Like, bring in some guys that haven't had the chance. I think up top even I question, like, where's Ricardo Pepi at?
Coming off the bench.
Yeah, but like, why? I mean, as of today, like in his last 4 games for PSV Eindhoven, he has 4 goals. So he's playing for his club team. He's being productive. Why not give him a shot? But, I'm just me. I know nothing. Like, I just coach 3 to 5-year-olds, and I'm really good at it.
You're just a guy in Cincinnati.
That's it.
Soccer.
That's it. And and I could really go with like Florian Balogun or whatever, however you say his name. Like, throw him in the mix. Like, let's go. Like, give some of these guys like real honest looks that haven't really had them. I would even like to see like more of Haji Wright. I could go through some of these guys. Is McKinney going to get more of an opportunity? Like, where's he at? What about Cole Campbell? What do we know about that kid that's playing for? He's playing for Dortmund, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's 18 years old. He'll be 20 come the World Cup. Is he ready? Probably not. But is it a good opportunity for him to develop and grow? I believe so.
See, so I think you're kind of making the case here for me is that every name you mentioned there, with the exception perhaps of Miles Robinson, was like, really? That's the Calvary? You know? I'm sorry. I know I'm a
I don't
cynical
think we're
son
gonna.
of a bitch. It's like these guys
I don't think we're gonna win. So I think we're hosting the World Cup, and they say we want to go win. We're not going to win. Take a second, take a breath, look at it from the overhead, and go, we're not going to fucking win.
Like, no, I know. There's no doubt we're not going to win it. But the question is, to me, is can we, we're with the nationalistic fervor and everything that's going to be going on, hosting the World Cup, can we get to the quarters, or what I like to call the Elite Eight? Can we do that? And if we can't, then we've just been jerking off. Because that's the task. I mean, I hope that the people that hired this guy is like, dude, that's what you got to get to. That's what you got to do. If you can't do that, then we've wasted our money.
I think we'll get to the quarterfinals.
EV.
I think we'll get to the quarterfinals.
Okay. Well,
with the team that just won Mexico.
Do you think we'll get to the quarterfinals based on ability or based on FIFA will make sure we do?
You're not influenced by Pat's earlier comment.
No. I'm influenced by the stories I've heard from Hank about FIFA. so that is
ability.
I say we bring in our guest and we find out his thoughts on this one.
Is he here? There he is.
Right
the
there.
Man, the myth, the legend.
He logs in as EV just says, we're jerking off. Sure, but this look on he's like, oh God. What did I just get myself into here?
Remember, fellas, timing is everything in life. Jersey, how are you doing?
I am doing well. I am doing well. Wow.
Yeah.
What a start. What a start.
Thank you for joining the rest of the jerk offs and spending your time with us on this beautiful Wednesday night. And you play if I'm not mistaken, you play Chappel Hill tomorrow, right? In the final regular season game.
You are right. So you just scared the hell out of me when you said Thursday night.
Yeah.
Late for the game.
Sorry, dude.
I overslept the game, and sorry, I gotta go Chapel Hill.
So I wanted to have you on because obviously last Thursday was really great. For those of you who don't know, last Thursday was Robbie's last final regular season home match at Duke University. They played Notre Dame. For those of you who don't know, Robbie has announced his retirement at the end of this season. And so myself and Billy Hempen and Scott Preschold and Billy Lassane and Nathan Kipp and a bunch of Robbie's former players at Belmont Abbey all sort of made the pilgrimage to watch Church's game. And I called Church before I went because every team that I watch play live loses. Right? You guys know I'm a Bruins fan, and I don't watch the Bruins play because every time I watch them, they lose. Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, Church, I will not come and ruin your last home game. And sure enough, I get there and they go down 3-1. And I'm like, holy fuckballs. I'm ruining the guy's last home game. And luckily the girls came back and you at least got a point out of it against what I thought was a really good Notre Dame and really fast team.
Yeah.
So So expand a little bit on what Thursday night was for you, and then then you go to Wake Forest and you basically beat them badly, not badly, but I mean you sounds like you dominated them, and then you got Chapel Hill tomorrow, and then you get into the ACC playoffs, which dude, so you got 2 seasons of playoffs basically ahead of you. You got the ACC, and then you got the NCAAs.
Yeah. So, first of all, let me again thank you so much for coming and making that trip all the way down from the Music City to the Bull City over there. It was so good to see you in the stands and good to see you afterwards for a while. And you saw quite a game. Once I hung the phone up after I talked to you, I was like, oh, what did I just do? I had the Grim Reaper come see my last game. The man who does teams never win when he pulls for those teams live.
Yeah.
So I thought the same thing. Once we went down the third goal, down 3-1, I kind of looked up in the stands to see if you were still there. I was hoping you would make the way to the exit, but the girls fought our way back. Tied the game up. Unfortunately, had a second yellow and had to go down to 10 players. But that game had a little bit of everything, didn't it, Evie? I mean,
it did.
That was one exciting 6 goals. Both teams had not given. We had gone into the third to the last game only giving up 6 goals the whole year. Notre Dame had only given up 7 goals the whole year. So, and 6 goals were scored in the game. They had a red card. It had a penalty shot that hit the side of the building. That hit the building over there, and it was a hard-fought game. And it was, the sidelines were entertainment too. Both the Notre Dame sidelines and the Duke sidelines were definitely entertainment also. So things were flying in that one, and it ended up a really, really good game. And unfortunately, again, you were there. We didn't get the 3 points. That was we had a 12-game winning streak, and we didn't get beat, but it was a draw. So I'm not sure how we connect those dots. But I think we can.
I warned you.
You warned me, and I made sure on Sunday night that you were not in the crowd. I scanned the crowd. They had 3,700 people at Wake Forest for the number 1 and the number 2 ranked team to play each other. Programs, highest number of attendance at the Wake Forest game. It was a phenomenal crowd. I mean, we've all been around the women's game. We've all seen the start of the women's game when we had 3 people and a dog sitting over there in the stands watching the games and stuff too. So
that was last weekend in Louisville when I went.
Yeah, they're still out there. But to have 3,700 people, the game was phenomenal. And because Chapel Hill had gotten beat on Friday night by Florida State, we had a chance to win the regular season outright by ourselves with the win at Wake Forest.
Great.
And, played a really, really solid match and elevated our possession especially, and elevated services from the flanks and getting numbers in the box in the second half, and scored 2 really nice goals to beat a very, very good Wake Forest team, which they're going to make a lot of noise in the ACC tournament coming up, and also the NCAA tournament. So top all that off, still in the same week, now we've got to go to Chapel Hill.
What's the environment going to be like there tomorrow night, you think?
Well, it should be great. Obviously, Carolina is also known for their Halloweens. Anybody that's been in the area down in Franklin Street, it is absolutely famous for a Halloween night on Franklin Street. So it's going to be interesting. Hopefully, they will all go to Franklin Street, the crazies, and not come over to the game to start with. But no, we invite them to come too. So I think it's going to be a great environment. I'm excited about it. A lot on the line, even though we have clinched the regular season, I think we're in pretty good shape for an overall number 1. But I know if we can get a win in the first, the last match or the first round of the ACC tournament, I think we can hopefully lock down a number 1. Carolina, if they would win the match, they would also. There's 2 buys. Number 1 and number 2 gets a bye, so you don't have to play on Sunday afternoon. So Carolina, if they win, they will get the second bye. So and they're also playing for a number 1 seed. So there's going to be a lot on the line tomorrow night.
Well, Robbie, first, thank you for being on the show. I'm going to remind everybody, Ryan included, Robbie is the #1 listened to podcast.
Are you kidding?
Bill the Champ. And if you've never listened to it, I definitely recommend it. It is a very funny and entertaining one. So I just want to put that out there. Robbie, we're on YouTube now, so we've moved up. We're big time now, thanks to Ryan. So no pressure tonight. First, I want to welcome you. When you do go into retirement, you're going to need some flippers, right? But these are special, Robbie. I'm going to show you because what they do, they open beer.
Oh.
The excitement level of this podcast just jumped.
How about that? How about that?
I bet I know where I can buy a pair of those at Soccer Village. I think
No, I appreciate the plug, but
I think they'll be on sale.
But if you do need a pair, I'll hook you up. You know that. So I want to talk a little bit about this season so far. I hope it goes on the Cinderella story. I do think you will make a long run. I hope it does end up like a dream come true. You announced it early. Do you feel the players, the pressure on them? And if you do, what things are you trying to do to help them alleviate that?
Yeah, no, I really, for the most part, we've talked a little bit about it. This is, we have 5 seniors. We have 3 natural seniors finishing up their last year, and then we have 5 COVID seniors. So there's 8 seniors that we have on this team. It's an older team. So this is their year. This is their last year. This is their soccer. This season's about them. This is their and they have been leading us since day one in our preseason. So this season's not about me. There's been a lot of things that have happened, and it's been unbelievable with the alumni returning, the friends returning, the level of play that we've been at all year. It's been fantastic. But for sure, this is not about winning for me. This is about winning for Duke. This is about winning for Duke women's soccer program. We, as most people know, we had a very poor year up to our standards last year. And this is about coming back and taking our program and getting it back to where we feel like it belongs with the upper echelon of the programs and playing on the national stage. And so far, the ladies have done an unbelievable job, from day one. And, our staff, Kieran Hall is going to take once the season's over, the old man's going to leave and head to the beach. And Kieran Hall has already been named the head coach. And he has done a fantastic job, all 7 years that he's been in the program, but just done an unbelievable job this year. Carl Overbeck, our FIFA legend, a staple of the program, has been there 30 years. We'll move up to associate head coach, and they're going to do absolutely a phenomenal job and really take this program to even greater heights. So, it's been fantastic. I mean, I've enjoyed it. The pressure's been off. I've just tried to enjoy every single day. If it's training, if it's games, the relationships. Now that the calendar is going to flip to November, we understand that once we get it out of this game, we're guaranteed another game next Thursday in the semifinals of the ACC tournament. And then we've earned our way into the NCAA tournament. We're guaranteed a game there, but nothing else is guaranteed to us. So we're looking forward to those challenges. I think we are up to that task, and I feel the same thing. I think we will make a long run in the tournament, but we've got to bring out and we've got to come out and play at the level that we've been playing all year.
Yeah, interesting question here. And two different thoughts here as well. Your administration is fine with naming your successor, Kieran, early on. It probably helps the players from a stability standpoint, knowing he's going to be there as well. Versus tomorrow night, you can't say the same, right?
Right.
Their administration has vocally said we are looking for a woman.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that versus, damn, it should be the best candidate?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, many times I've thanked our administration over the course. Dr. Price, of course, our president, Nina King, our athletic director, Chris Kennedy, our sports supervisor, Todd Messenbaum, the senior administration. Again, it wasn't, I will be honest, all last spring, we have really pushed this, and it was my goal, because for me to retire is one thing, but there's no reason to blow up our staff, because we don't need that. We went to 3 straight Final Eights, and we had a poor year last year. So there's no need to do that. The girls are doing great in the classroom, doing fantastic, in the community. So, I mean, it just needed to, they needed the old guy to get out of there, and then let's move it on and move. And so I appreciate that. It was a process, I will say that. And it took a little while, but I do understand there's a process that Nina has to go through as our athletic director. But, then we finally came to the, we wish we had done it a little bit earlier, but it's also been, Kieran and Carla have done all the recruiting for 26 and have done a phenomenal job. The commitments they have there. We meet every day on different things. I'm handling everything it's done in 25. Anything past 25, he's in Kieran's doing that. And so we're working well together. And it's now, I can't speak really for Chapel Hill. I don't know. The only thing I can speak for, and this is my opinion and my opinion only, David Nahas has done an excellent job, an outstanding job at Carolina. He's always been an outstanding coach. And, he was thrown into a really, really difficult situation at North Carolina with Anson stepping down right before the season started, leaving him a lot of new players, a lot of turnover in the program. And he's done a phenomenal job. So, I'll just leave it at that. I'm a big supporter of Damon, and, I think he's earned the right to coach that team, but that's not my decision.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about rosters, sort of a great segue here. And I don't know if you're getting at it right at the right time with this roster change next year. Want to hear your thoughts on that. And then want to hear, and we'll talk more about it after you talk about the roster, the international. And I think some numbers are going to surprise you of how many internationals or lack of are in the ACC. But first, talk about the roster sizes and what you're hearing, what your administration is sharing with you.
Yeah, again, I'm in some of those conversations, and then some of those conversations are ones that Kieran is having, and rightfully so. Roster size are going to be 28 if everything goes through the House bill. There's no question about that. That's pretty much been set across the board. And I think that's going to be, it's not going to, some people were thinking, well, can we get a grandfather clause? We have 34 players, not us. We've always had around 25 to 27. So it fits what we do at Duke. We've been very much relation oriented. So we wanted to have a smaller roster so we could have relationships with our players, but some teams have 35, and they were hoping to get grandfathered in, but I do not think that's going to happen. The bigger question I think everybody's asking is also the scholarship. With a 28 limit, you can have up to 28 scholarships. And, I think throughout the country, the numbers are trickling out that some schools are going to get a higher number of scholarships. Some are going to get 28. And I think there's a number of schools that are going to get just 14 and stay at 14. So within your conference, really in a Power 4 conference, for the first time, you're going to have inequity of some teams having a lot more scholarships than other teams. So that's going to be really, really interesting, and how that works out. And because across the board, especially in the Power 4, everything's been 14 scholarships, and everybody's had that number. Now people may have double the amount of scholarships playing within the same conference.
Can you share with us what schools you've heard are going to get up to 28 or even past 20?
I think you'll see a lot of I'm not going to say all the SEC, but I think you'll see a lot of the SEC with that number. you'll see a lot of the Big Ten, the TV, the ones that have big TV money, the ones
footballs.
Those schools will have the better chance. Not all of them, I think, will have past 20, but I think you're going to see a great majority of those schools that are bringing in the money through the TV contracts and then also through having big football stadiums and bringing in revenue on Saturday.
All right, let's talk a little bit about on the men's side, everyone on the podcast knows a ton of foreigners. Do you feel it's creeping into the women's side? Obviously, on the women's side, Division II is a lot of them. But share with me what you think. How many players were foreigners in the ACC this year?
I think probably, to your point, Greg, I think it's probably been the lowest number of, that I remember over the last 10 years of international players that are playing and international players that are having a major impact in the ACC and the women. And then if that's the case, you ask the question, why is that happening? And I think, number one is the growth of the women's game across the world is the sponsor. And there's a lot, you see very little English players that have major I'm hearing about that are over here. Carolina had 3 of them players and, made a major impact. Now they can stay home. They're getting paid a lot of money to stay home. They're being paid a lot of money to stay with their nationals. So it's not now that, and they can develop and play against older players. And now they can develop in their country. They're not looking to come as much and play in the collegiate level. So I think number one, we've lost, I would say the top 10 players in the class of 2024 this year all went pro. And then we've lost a lot of international players. So it's interesting, the level of play. It may not be as high as it had been over the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, the number is 41, by the way. And of that, 17 are Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah. And 3 schools, including yours, had 0.
Yeah.
Stanford and Louisville. The highest was Syracuse and Pittsburgh with 7. To your point, there was only 4 players from England.
Yeah.
So you were spot on with that statement of them staying over there. Where do you think it's going? Do you think it's shrinking based on what you've seen now the last 2 or 3 years, or there's going to be a surge now because there's more money theoretically to play with?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. I'm pulling my crystal ball out and trying to look at that to see what's happening. It's a little blurry, that crystal ball is over there. So I don't know. I mean, I think more of the upper echelon, the top players, I don't think they value his education as much. I think, which is, I think more players are going to go pro. I think now what's going to be really interesting too is, there's no NWSL draft. So what does that mean for underclassmen? What is that? Are we going to see a surge of freshmen, sophomore jump out of college after the season's over this year? No, I don't know, because we've never gone through that cycle. Are they going to come out early? Or are they going to stay in? It is very interesting. I do think there'll be a certain, there's a roster limit in the NWSL. Are these players going to leave college and go to the U.S.? Have left, and you may have the stats, since you're throwing out these really big stats at me. I like it. And I better come with my A game, because you got the stats. But because, we're
your national roster spot for the NWSL, for those who don't know, is 7.
So, the USL, what will the USL be a player in this? Will they provide enough money to have people skip a college education, a 4-year education. They're going to have 16 teams next year. They got something like 8 this year. They're going to double the number, 16. Where are they going to get their players? You're going to think they're going to try to dip into the college pool and take players there too. Again, I don't know the USL as well. I do know Pooley has a really good team down in Charlotte that's doing well and seems to be at the top of the league, and not only on the field but off the field, providing. I've heard a lot of good things, but so I think with more options of players to play professionally in the States, or more options of players to go internationally and play overseas, it's going to be an interesting time. Is the women's game moving towards what the men's game has moved towards, where you lose a large number of your best players go pro internationally or domestically, and then it's just the remaining part go to college?
Good point. Pat, what's your take on some of this?
Hello, Pat.
Hey, Robbie. Last time I saw Robbie, he was walking out of the Murray building, and I was trying to get in, and he opened the door for me, said, "Hey, I love your son." And then he said, "Fuck off," and he kept walking. No. It was like, "Thanks, Robbie. Oh man, gotta go." He pulled me. I'm on the phone trick, right? So anyway, no. But no, I just there's the women. The thing about the women's game, and Robbie, it's been enlightening listening to you, is that there's just so many more quality American players out there compared to the rest of the world, compared to the men's side. There's just, so I think the American girl is going to continue to dominate the NCAA roster for the rest of my natural life. I don't see there being a change there. The only thing that may happen is, and Robbie, this is where your expertise would be, by all means, chime in. I think the foreign girls, you look at Spanish girls and all that, they're more technical.
Very much.
And the American girls are just better athletes, and the college game is driven by athletes and not technical players. And that's why I think the Americans will just continue to be dominate the rosters. And that's my thoughts on the subject.
There's no question that transitional part of the game, the Americans excel in. But man, if you watch the Spaniards, the youth teams of Spain, oh my God, the 17s, the 20s. Now, I just finished watching the U.S. just lost 1-0 to North Korea. Forget North Korea, we lost to in the U17 semifinals. Now, tomorrow's second semifinals is England versus Spain. I mean, that is a absolutely top-notch game from the technical standpoint, the speed of play, the decision making of the players is just it's going to be a world-class game. But you are 100% right. When you get in transition, and it's like the U.S. Look at the three forwards our full national team has when they put their horses on the field. Those three forwards in transition are unbelievable. They're lightning fast. They're technically so. But again, it is a changing times in the women's game. I think overall, I agree 100% with you, Pat. There's a lot more of the women, but there are pockets of European teams, Spain, England, some of those teams that are just producing some really, really good players. And they have what the U.S. doesn't have is they have a little bit, I don't know what you want to call it, soccer savvy, IQ, whatever we want to call it. It's ingrained in them. They watch the game. They love the game. It's on television every week. And, I'm sure the men complain a lot about their players don't watch the game or they don't do, but the women complain even more about the women not watching the game and just a little things that happen in the game, the little ideas, you can see the men's creeping into some of the Europeans. We're getting better with it, but as long as we have our athletes and as long as we can get in transition, but where we struggle is if people take us out of transition and we have to, you know.
Hey,
We froze.
sorry. Hey, so here's an interesting thing. So in Robbie, I've been working with, I don't remember, our good friend Marlon Robinson from
Oh,
way
yeah.
back. Okay. But so we've been working on sending players over. And according to him, in terms of the opportunities for women in Europe and all this stuff, the women's game in England is still decades behind the boys in the grassroots.
Yeah.
So that's the other reason I'm saying it's going to be a long time before you see these foreign players, you know, really supplant the American player. And I kid you not, as you're talking to me right now, Robbie, I just got a text from Tom Kane, and he said, "How about the way Robbie's going out? What a way!" And he was like, gave a big thumbs up. If anything, I'll take a screenshot and send it to you guys. It was funny as you were talking. I got the text from Tom Kane talking about you as if your ears were burning or something. Fantastic.
You know, Tom was on campus about 3 or 4 weeks ago and did come to one of our games, and we played well. I didn't tell him to fuck off. I talked to him for a while.
Yep. I was there that weekend too, so that was.
Yeah, he told you to fuck off. So
Now I really feel like persona
love
non
your
grata.
son. Okay, I do love your son. I think he's outstanding. I think he's done a great job. So you know that's not bad. I'm batting 500. If I was a baseball player, I'd make a lot of money with that.
What is Tom Kane doing now, Pat?
Tom Kane is a hermit on the Oregon coast, if you ask him. But he's like decided to come out a bit more. He's just been, he left Nike, kind of checked out for a while, and I think he's now like starting to come back into the mainstream. So it's about where he is.
It was great to see him, though. It was
it was looking good,
and he looked great. And he was visiting John Rennie down in Wilmington, and then John Kerr, making kind of the tour through North Carolina. So, great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Churchy, thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it. We, of course, we wish you nothing but the best for the rest of the season. You got to.
Well, thank you, sir.
Tough hill to climb.
It's always a privilege to be on with you guys. It's
but if
my week and my month over here with Greg drinking beer over there on set. Next time I come, I'm bringing my cooler. I did not know I could show up with a cooler.
Of course you can.
I will bring my cooler to join him.
Post-retirement. That will be an interesting one, EV, right?
Yeah. After winning the national title.
Well, Robbie,
no pressure.
Robbie, I can't believe that you are the most watched, especially when we had.
No, I said watch. Listen, Pat. Listen to.
Okay, listen to. But we had Aiden Heaney on. Come on, that's got to be. That's got to be worth 500 people right there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well done, Pat. Well done.
Exactly.
So you're number one in the NCAA. You're number one on 3-0 goalies, and of course, you're number one in our hearts.
Which one's the most important part. Number one in your hearts, and number one on 3-0 goalies. Forget the NCAA. That's okay. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of the show.
Good luck tomorrow.
Good luck tomorrow. Oh, and Churchy, I will not be watching anything going forward from here. Okay. So.
Well, as long as you're not in person, Evie, it's okay, right?
Text the score. I will text the score.
If you lose, it'll be my fault because I watch, but I won't watch. So,
exactly.
But you can still blame it on me.
Okay. Well, please send me a picture of you in your Halloween costume tomorrow night. Okay.
One last question, Robbie. How's the dog? Because last time you were on that dog.
Yes, we had the dogs.
Right. How's it doing?
Yeah, the dogs are good. We're okay. We got 3 of them. There's one at 17 staring backwards out the window. So who knows? who knows what's happening with that one. So, okay. Take
The
care,
Dodger
guys.
number 1, too. So there you go.
Good luck, Robbie.
Bye.
Yeah, buddy.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that was great. That was great. And he, as Kane said in your text, what a way he's going out, like you dream about. I think
It was like, I get in the last 40 years, I've gotten 5 texts from Tommy Kane, and I'm getting one about fucking Robbie Church while I'm talking to him. It's like,
Yeah.
And I talked to Robbie Church 15 times in the last 40 years. And so anyway,
if you get a chance to watch that match though, tomorrow night, it's at 7 PM. We're going to put this up like tonight. I'm going to have it up. So if you listen to this on the day that it releases, so on Halloween day, as we get it up and going, the number 1 Duke Blue Devils travel to number 8 North Carolina, who is 14-3, 7-2 in the ACC. Duke is 13-1-1, 8-0-1 in the ACC, and they play at Dorrance Field tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on the ACC Network Extra. Right. Darren Vaught and Brianna Pinto have the call.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Detective Ryan, interesting stat. You can look it up while we're talking. How many times you think Robbie's beaten Carolina in 22 years?
I know.
You want me to look it up?
I'm going to say 7 times.
7? Okay.
Yeah.
In 22 years?
Well, he's been there since 24 years. Sorry, 24 years. He's been there since 2000. That's when he took over for Billy.
Oh, man. But he's played him a crap ton, right? Because he's played him in the ACC tournament a bunch.
Yeah.
I said regular season. Regular season.
Oh, regular season?
Something you can look up easy.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but I would say
Pass answer was 7. Evie, do you remember? Because you and we had that discussion the first time he was on. Now that was 4 years ago.
Right. I think it's either 1 or 2. It's not many.
It was 2.
it's
4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
Because
3.
we gave him a bunch of crap about it, or I did. Right.
Let's talk about all-time Duke record at North Carolina. Not just Robbie, but all time. I can give you that. I have that.
No, we don't want that.
Oh no, it's interesting because I would have never, and most people would have never guessed this. North Carolina is a freaking powerhouse, right?
Oh yeah.
So for those people that don't know, because there are people that listen to the show that don't know enough about women's soccer and realize that North Carolina used to run the show, right?
Right.
Like it was North Carolina and everyone else.
Everybody else was playing for second. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Duke holds an all-time ledger of 5-43-4 against the Tar Heels. Now, here's where it gets really interesting to me is a stats guy. 5 wins, right? 4 of those are at North Carolina.
And
so
that means the only one was this year where they won at home.
Yeah.
They've already played them this year. They
Yeah.
beat them back in September.
Yeah.
But I believe, check me out on this, Ryan, that was not a regular ACC conference game.
No,
it wasn't.
Was a tournament, somebody's tournament?
No, it's a game they play.
It was just a game, but it didn't count as a conference game.
Yeah. Tomorrow's is the conference game. Yeah. I think, Pat, I think the answer might be, I think it's less than 7, just because I thought it was 2 when Evie and I did the first podcast with them. So I'm going to say maybe 4. So anyway.
Here's one more interesting North Carolina stat to throw out there, just for something that's interesting. There are only 13 teams that have ever defeated North Carolina at home. Ever. Duke is one of them.
Of course.
So, and it's on Halloween.
And Ryan, here's an even more interesting. Not only have they beat them in Carolina, they've done it 4 times.
4 times. Yeah. Yeah. And it's on Halloween, and they're the Blue Devils. They have to have some sort of advantage with it being Halloween tomorrow night, right?
No.
Come on.
All right.
My sister and brother-in-law work at UNC Chappel Hill, so they're probably going to be super pissed that I'm rooting against them tomorrow night, but it's fine.
All right. Bone?
Yes.
give our listeners sort of a Cliff Notes version about the concept behind the big ass motherfucking conference.
All right, and I'm gonna ask Pat to step in
And
here
then we're gonna
too and
have
help me because
our round table.
yeah, because Pat's son, in case you listeners forgot, Kyle is on staff at Duke on the men's side as their goalkeeper coach. So it'll be interesting to hear some thoughts and what Pat's hearing from the inside scoop. So what I'm hearing is it first started as the Big Ten and the ACC. Men's soccer Division I was going to be a 10-month program, a fall season, a spring season, championship in the spring. Now it's included the Sun Belt. In case you forgot who's in the Sun Belt on the men's side, you have, of course, Marshall, West Virginia, James Madison, UCF, UK, Kentucky.
Is South Carolina also in that conference?
I believe they are, but they just, under Tony, they just haven't done it.
They're actually knocking on the door for the top 25 this year.
That's because I'm rooting for them. I mean, it's taken 4 years. They got great facilities. I'm glad to see they're finally where they need to be, in my opinion, or at least striving toward that. Nevertheless, so those three conferences now, funded by U.S. Soccer or helped by U.S. Soccer. The league will be an under 23 league, is what I hear. But there's so much of the unknown. Pat and I were discussing where's the transfer. Right now the portal opens December 1st, closes December 30th or 31st, then reopens in May 1 to May 15, I believe. How is that going to change? Or if you're playing in the Super League or badass motherfucker league, as everyone's calling it,
not everyone,
is it going to be the end of June? Is it going to be May, June that you transfer? So
just us, right? It's not everyone.
I mean, I think another thing to think about that no one's really talking about is facilities usage. Where are these schools going to come up with all these athletic trainers? Right now, I believe there's a shortage, and you're already hiring outside sources as a third party. So now you're going to maybe incur some more expenses depending on your program. Throw in that normally you get assigned the athletic trainer in the fall, and then he or she takes another sport in the spring. How's that going to work? How's it if you're on turf? How are you going to share it with a lacrosse team?
The other thing to look at is how many of these schools are not playing lacrosse on the same field.
Right.
Like, because I think some of the lacrosse programs, some of the Sun Belt schools in particular, are playing on their football fields, in using those spaces. It just depends on how that spacing would work. And as someone that sees a lot of D3 sports, like the sharing of facilities thing, if they can do it at the D3 level, they can do it at D1. They'll figure it out. Because like D3 sports is just like, for lack of a better term, like locally, it's kind of a shit show.
Okay.
So they can do it at D1. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
So 2-minute whip around, starting with you, Pat. Go.
Makes sense. The college game is dying. It's funny. Robbie was talking about the crowds, and I've been to a few Duke games this year, actually 3. And the one against Carolina, they packed the house. It was like 4,500. Other games, you're lucky if you got 300 people in the stands. So I think it creates a buzz that way. I think if anything too, this might increase the opportunities for American kids to play in the teams that are NCAA D1 schools that are not in the Super Conference. I think, we can pick on Aiden Heaney as the poster child for the school that's not invited to the Super League, and what's it going to do to his program, And do they still go and find these foreigners, or now do they just turn into more like a D3 program where it's like, hey, we got a bunch of student athletes here playing, and we're not going to be. If anything, they're going to pull funding from these programs. Okay, that's one scenario. The other scenario, I think, Greg, you and I talked about, is they turn it into like the way football is, where there's the 1A, Division 1A or whatever, where like James Madison and Minnesota State and all of that. So, I mean, ultimately, that's the way it's going anyway, because right now, I know for a fact, I've got some friends at Duke that, they're going to have to find ways to pay their top players to stay, or else they're going to go pro, or those kids are going to hop to another school that's going to give them NIL money. It's a real thing. And so now with the creation of the Super League, I hope it creates some type of parity where they all have to play by the same set of rules, which I think they would. Those are my thoughts. And I just want to say this. I told you guys this would happen.
Time. Okay. Ryan, you're next, because we're going to wait because Bones' position with Cup as far as the college advisor, we're going to let you go last on this, Bone, all right? All right, Ryan, let her rip.
Okay, so I'm a big fan of the idea of playing a 10-month schedule. I'm also a big fan of them playing one game a week, because I am a huge fan of student athletes. I think we forget a lot of the pressure that these kids are under, and we've talked about it on the show before. When you have a Wednesday game and a Saturday game, and you're trying to go to class in between and get all your stuff done, and now these huge conferences are traveling, like as we talked pre-show, I forget that Stanford is an ACC school now.
Yeah.
Like, the travel is brutal. And Greg and I have talked off air about this before, but there was a football game. Miami went to play against Cal, and it took the truck, like, was it 9 days or 10 days to drive from one location to the other, just to bring the equipment for football, which I know is a different beast altogether because of the amount of equipment. But the travel for these conferences has just gotten so crazy with the number of miles these kids are putting in, that if there's a way to reduce the travel to one time a week, I think it benefits the athletes as a whole. And I'm all for that. Do I think that it could hurt the attendance? Maybe. But I also think that if there's more games in the spring when they're not being played at the same time as football, that might help give some of the, like, on campus housing kids like reasons to go to do something. I think you miss out a lot of people going to the soccer games because they're spending a ton of time getting ready for the football games during the fall, especially at these big schools that have big party weekends, like Ohio State or Kentucky now is kind of catching on. But like, if you go to a football game at Tennessee, like, it's like a national event. Like, the whole town shuts down and like everything's going crazy. So I think if you give kids an opportunity to play some soccer in the spring, and it's meaningful soccer and it's not just exhibitions, I think it helps the college game as a whole, in my opinion.
Time. All right. Ready? I think it's a great idea. I think the devil is in the details, like with most things. I think one of the hurdles that has to be addressed is there needs to be a limit on foreign players so that we're developing American kids. Because as Pat mentioned right off the bat, the men's game in college soccer is wilting. It's dying. And if this is, in fact, being funded by U.S. Soccer, one of the one of the rules should be that you have whatever the number is, 6, 7 foreign players, but everybody else is American players, and you got to figure out a way to do that. But I think the concept is great. I think it is the necessary path forward for collegiate men's soccer in the United States, and I hope that it is. I hope that it's instituted, and I hope that they spend a great amount of time figuring out and tweaking and working on the details so that it's successful. All right, Bone.
All right.
You're the man who is in
man.
charge of all these little chickens who are trying to go to play college soccer at Cup, and they're coming to you and going, Mr. Deutsch, I want to go play at the University of Central Florida. I want to go play at UConn. How do I do that? And then you have to say it to them. And then, of course, you have to say it to their parents, right?
Yeah.
Because the kids are never going to transfer the information to their parents and vice versa. So you got 2 minutes. Let her rip.
To directly address what you just shared, look at the roster. We all know how dominated it is by foreigners. A parent can do it. A kid can do it. So that's an easy answer. I think the kids are going to have to expand their lists of what they want to do. Interesting, Pat brought up, where do the schools like UNC Wilmington, where Aiden Heaney's at, the mid-majors? A lot of times they have some very good teams, Missouri State. I mean, these are all foreign-based, teams, as we all know here, but they're still making the run. They still go deep. Interesting you say that, Evie, about U.S. soccer having that influence. I never thought about that as far as putting the hammer down and saying that. I doubt that'll happen personally. I think another thing of tennis, I would disagree with Pat. I think depending on who the game is and when the game is, you're seeing some outrageous crowds in a great way. West Virginia Marshall, 5,000 to 7,000. Who knew that? Now, that's a rivalry. I get it, Pat, in-state. You would expect that, which – nevertheless, to see it is incredible. I think this is a good thing, but as everyone's alluded to here, especially UEV, how's this going to get done? How's it going to get implemented? I mentioned some of the usage facility challenges. I do think that is real. Not every school is going to have all that money to do it. So it'll be interesting to see how they use those resources. Do we develop better kids for the American game? I don't know. Is that what NCAA soccer is about? To me, no. Okay, that's what U.S. soccer is about. So we like that. I think it sounds good, but at the end of the day, that's not the NCAA's role. Just like they're not developing pro football players or basketball players or any other sport, even though the culture in our society sort of breeds that.
Okay. All right. So we have, let's discuss this. We got 5 minutes to discuss this, and then we got a hard stop. So I agree 100% with you on, as Pat said, a super league, someone like Aiden Heaney's team, someone like UNC Greensboro's team, some of these mid-majors that, pop up and upset people in playoffs a lot of times. Or
like High Point, just upset Pitt.
They've got to figure out how to get their foot in the door here. And possibly could be, like, for example, with UNC Wilmington, their facilities would allow this. No problem. Right? They don't have football. They got plenty of room. They got plenty of training space, the whole thing. Same thing with Lipscomb, right? Lipscomb could do this because they've got practice fields, they've got game fields, that whole thing. So I think that needs to be taken into account as well. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how you do that. But what was the idea on the Super League in Europe? I mean, other than let's all make money and exclude, a lot of the smaller clubs, but was there an entry fee for those clubs to get in, or something like that they had to come up with? Not that you'd have to do that in college soccer, but kind of the same path.
Honestly, I don't know. I think, and I'm this. I forget the source, but what it was these clubs were angry about UEFA getting all this money with the Champions League, and they said, "Screw UEFA."
Right.
In that sense, let us make our own league, and then there was some clause in there where UEFA would have to sanction it, but they wouldn't get the same kind of cut they would with the Champions League contracts they've negotiated. But I don't know if that's fact, but that was the only motivation I heard from the league itself. Obviously, the teams, it was, the money.
Yeah.
Because, like, I know Man United is probably not a good example to use now, but okay, when Man City plays Arsenal, their tickets are twice as much than when Man City plays Southampton.
Right.
So revenue wise, and then of course the TV contract, people will tune in to watch Man City play Barcelona way more than they would for them to play, Leicester City.
Brentford. Yeah. Yeah.
Brentford, or pick your poison there. So, I mean, that's as much as I got for you on that. I think, listen,
Yeah.
the way my whole prediction was this is going to happen, and then these teams are going to negotiate their own television contracts with whatever, be it ESPN, CBS, Paramount, what's the Peacock, whatever. And I'm thinking that is their ticket, Greg, to negotiate that some type of 5-year deal with Apple TV or whoever, and they get enough money where they can go hire a full-time trainer and they can, rent out a facility if there is overlaps. I think, like Ryan said, there will be ways to navigate that. Just a funny fact here, while I was at Sewanee, we had men, women's soccer, men's, women's lacrosse, and field hockey all play on the same field.
Yeah.
And when we had to practice, we had 3 teams a day practicing on the same field. And it was just one of those things that was like, oy vey, I hope I don't get to 7:00 session tonight, But again, like you said, Ryan, I wouldn't call it a shit show. It's just, doing
Oh no, I'm just one school in particular. So
Thomas More? No, I don't know. I'm
no,
just kidding.
no,
But,
no. They're D2
Yeah,
now,
you
but
could
yeah,
say, you could say
you can
that.
still say that about there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think
At
it's
least
a
on the
great
women's side.
idea. I think it's gonna, it's just making an elite group of teams, and it's gonna raise the level of the game in the NCAA. I'm more curious about, I don't have the answer here. What's it gonna do to the USL? But if it's an under 23 league, then I think that does resolve it if they all have to be under 23, because I know, like, Duke's keeper right now, he's 25 years old or something, 24, 25, So
Yeah.
if they cap that age, like you said, Evie, the devil's in the details, then it could be a great pathway league. The MLS may just say, we're going to send kids there, which they're trying to do now. We're going to send kids there and they're going to play for 2 years, and then we're going to bring them back because we're going to get them bloodied there. Now when the MLS teams do that, if the kids stay at the collegiate team, what is it, for 2 years, then they lose the homegrown rights on them or something,
Right.
So it's, again, the dirt is in the details. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. I
Or the
think
devil's in the detail. Go Duke.
I feel if you're that kid, right, you can go in the academy or go here. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Same, right? 10 months for both options.
Well, and for the women's game, I mean, UEFA just pledged €1 billion into expanding the women's game overseas.
They need it at the grassroots. Is where they need their money.
Yeah. Well, here's I think, Bone, you and I talked about this. I think it's kind of interesting that U.S. Soccer has stepped up and said that they'll help underwrite this.
That is.
Recently there was a ton of layoffs at U.S. Soccer because they supposedly, I don't know if this for a fact, but they're trying to swing it into more of a business model than a sort of, soccer model, for example, right? And of course, everybody who's a soccer guy is going to say, well, this is bullshit. There's no soccer people involved, right? But all of us at some point, have said about soccer in the United States, I wish they'd run it like a business, right? How many times have we said, I wish the club I was coaching for would just run it like a fucking business, right? Well, let's give them a chance. Here they are. They've said they're going to run it like a business. Let's give them a chance and see if it works. If it doesn't work, you really haven't lost anything, because those schools are not going to go anywhere, right?
Right.
The institutions will remain. It may change the sport, but at this point, as Pat said, and I agree, I've said this for years, it's dying a slow death. Let's give it a lifeline.
When you talk about business people going in and running it like a business, there's a guy here in the area where I live is talking about starting a pro team in this area, which to me is just unfathomable. And my response is, like, to me, anybody who says, oh, I want to start a professional club here in the U.S., up till probably about 2 years ago, my response was always, do you whistle when you walk past the graveyard? Because that's what you're doing, But I think with the World Cup being here in 26, the world, all eyes are on us.
Yes.
From a business perspective.
Yes.
Okay. All the eyes are like, America's the place to be now. I mean, it's the people that are like, all of a sudden, this relevance that I have, thanks to Tony, because I'm in America, half of them are like, yeah, man, the World Cup's coming your way, and we want to be, have people in the ground and trench, blah, 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 whatever. We're still a frontier to them. We are still the great new world.
Yeah.
Until we've got little kids going to games and doing this on a regular basis, the game isn't ready to grow in that extent here. I mean, this little kid's flipping birds to away teams. like get out of here. There's a lot of opportunity for growth, and everybody sees like this, soccer is going to be the biggest sport in the world. And it's like, sure. Like I literally had a conversation with somebody the other day that, it should be the biggest game in the United States. And 25 years ago, he thought that it would be. And that was why he got into what he got into. And now that it's not, and he's been in the game for, 25, 30 years, he's like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What have I been doing all this time? Like, and
I'm the oldest guy here. Okay. Yeah. And, they've been saying this for 50 fucking years.
Yeah.
Right.
That soccer was coming. That soccer was going to be the next thing.
You know what, though? It is here. I mean,
participation. Yeah. Participation.
Okay, well, look at it this way. I mean, I came out of college and I had nowhere to play.
Right.
Now these guys are like spoiled for choice.
Yeah.
So there's obviously been a great, mushrooming of the opportunities for these guys. And the guys, if you play in the MLS, you're making a good living. Now, what was it back in the day, right? The guys were getting 25 grand or whatever.
Right.
Which to me was a lot of money. It was like, damn, you're getting 25,000. I got $300 if I got a shutout on a weekend,
Yeah.
But I mean, the opportunities are there, and it's just hasn't, it's a slow burn. That's what it is. But the other thing is there's just too much competition. There's already so many other things entrenched here culturally for us that we probably got a little bit more, and then we'll probably peak in 26, 27, 28, and that's as high as it's going to go.
Yeah.
Because you're still going to have the NFL, the NHL, MLB.
Yeah, I think
NBA.
we miss out on a lot of the male athletes that could be guys that we would be calling up to the national team level because they choose another sport.
Oh, we talk about that all the time. This would be a great conversation another time. Would be like,
Yeah.
okay, so who are you going to put as your 6? I'd be like, Ray Lewis would be my 6.
Right.
You know, who's going to be your goalkeeper? You know, name some wide receiver that.
Jerry Rice.
There you go. Pick your
Randy
guy,
Moss.
right?
Yeah.
You know, who are your forwards? Name 3 running backs, and you know, you got these guys dancing and stuff. Now, if they got it's like the game over, man. Forget it.
Yeah.
You know, LeBron James in goal. Come on. You know.
Yeah.
Think of just that type of thing. It's scary how good.
Yeah.
We could if that was the way it was here.
Okay, so gentlemen, we are at the end. So to bring it full circle, Ponch, it's all up to you.
Yes, it is.
You told everybody in your first interview that you were here to win the World Cup, so you screwed yourself, buddy.
You're here to win the World Cup. Knock yourself out. Oh, and Pat, a great quote for guys who are trying to start a professional team. The great Lamar Hunt, who basically, started soccer in the United States.
ASL days, yeah.
In the ASL days, and then he owned 3 MLS teams when they were just getting off the ground. He used to have a quote that said that was, "Oh yeah, soccer. You can make a small fortune in soccer in the United States if you start with a large one."
and I want to bring it full circle, Maven. If you give me even odds that the U.S. is going to make the quarterfinals in the World Cup, you just name the amount, and I'll take
$100.
that bet. You're on.
All right, he said $100. You heard it right.
Wow.
And on 3 old goalies.
He didn't even stutter. Like there was no delay.
Yeah. All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. We will convene sometime next week, and I would be remiss if I didn't urge all of our listeners to next Tuesday go out and vote. It's your duty as an American to vote. I don't care who you vote for, but go vote.
I voted today.
Yeah.
How long were the lines, Pat, down there?
I waited about 20 minutes. We've had early voting down here for about 10 days now, and it closes Friday.
Yeah.
So that'll be the end of our early voting.
Yeah. So no excuse. You're an American. Go vote. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Thank you very much. Ryan, thanks for everything.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching and listening to the 3 Old Goalies podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, follow us on social media, and, if you can, give us a 5-star review. Can't get enough? Check us out online at 3oldgoalies.com. See you next time.